Welcome to SkyWatchTV News for January 25th of 2015. I'm Derek Gilbert. Russian-backed rebels shelled the southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol yesterday, January 24th. Not clear what the objective was at this point. At least 30 people have died. The intelligence website Stratfor says that while things have settled down today, the situation still isn't over yet. Their analysis comes down to a few key points. First of all, the Russian-backed rebels have a strategic operational advantage in the region. They're better equipped, better supply lines, better trained, and the Russians have shown more willingness to commit to this fight than have Ukraine's Western allies. Now, this advantage is only temporary, Stratfor says. Ukraine is desperately trying to get help from NATO. So Russia has a couple of military options, especially while the clock is ticking on Russia's economy, which is sagging as oil prices have fallen. Diplomatic options include getting the rest of the world to recognize Russia's ownership of the Crimea, which is unlikely, or the military options, which include establishing a military presence which isn't easy to dislodge from the Crimea, or use the threat of an attack while it still possesses the military advantage to get concessions from Ukraine. The wild card in all of this is what is Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko and his government going to do? Poroshenko was at the World Economic Forum in Davos this past week, a gathering of world economic leaders to discuss policy and ideas for the year ahead. Poroshenko called for help at a speech delivered to the World Economic Forum. He claimed 9,000 Russian soldiers are currently on Ukrainian territory, a claim that hasn't been substantiated. Ukraine's economy is in collapse. Poverty is rampant and spreading, and a report today, translated from Russian, although this has not been confirmed, says that the government in Ukraine has decided to declare martial law in the southeastern part of the country and declare war on Russia. This decision, according to the report, has been delayed because Ukraine needs financial help, and the International Monetary Fund will not give money to a nation that is at war. Again, that's an unconfirmed report. The question is this: is Petro Poroshenko and his government so desperate that they will try to draw Russia and the West into a war, thinking that that may be the only solution, at least as far as Poroshenko and his government are concerned, to hang on to power, that is? The bigger questions, perhaps, with Russia's economy tanking because of the dropping price of oil, will Vladimir Putin call that bluff? And if Russia's economy collapses, what happens to its trading partners in Western Europe, of which there are many, some of whom depend heavily on Russia for their supplies of energy during the long, cold winters? Meanwhile, there's turmoil in the Middle East. At least 17 dead today, Sunday, in a new uprising in Egypt. An Islamic uprising continues in the Sinai Peninsula near the border of Israel, where militants allied with the Islamic State have killed hundreds of police and soldiers since the Muslim Brotherhood and its leader, Mohammed Morsi, were turned out of power in Egypt. Also, King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia died Friday, January 23rd. The 90-year-old monarch is succeeded by his 79-year-old half-brother, Prince Salman. Abdullah is remembered for getting the Arab League together in the early 2000s to agree to a peace deal offered to Israel if Israel would agree to withdraw to its pre-1967 borders. This caught the United States somewhat by surprise. Shortly thereafter, the administration of George W. Bush, for the very first time, called for a separate Palestinian state. President Obama will fly to Saudi Arabia this coming week to meet the new King Salman. Salman previously served as the defense minister and was governor of Riyadh for nearly 50 years. He earned a reputation as an effective and non-corrupt leader, referred to as the sheriff of the royal family. Most of the royal princes and princesses live in and around Riyadh, and it was his job, apparently, to keep them in line and cover up any scandals with a minimum of public exposure. However, the new King Salman does have some health issues. He suffered a stroke, and there have been persistent rumors that he's suffering from dementia. They've already named a crown prince, a successor to King Salman, Prince Mukran. Salman has got some problems to handle right off the bat. In addition to his ongoing proxy war in Syria, he has to deal with a new problem on his southern border. Shiite rebels, the Houthis, forced the president of Yemen to resign this week. The president of Yemen was an ally of the United States in the war on terror and a Sunni leader who was also allied with the Saudi kingdom. Now, this puts a Shia military force, presumably backed by Iran, on the Saudis' back door. Meanwhile, Yemen as a nation is fracturing. The southern provinces, which are predominantly Sunni, reject Shia control coming from the capital, Sana'a. Because of this turmoil, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula may benefit as they emerge, perhaps, as protectors of Sunnis in that part of the Middle East. And adding to the confusion, just this afternoon, an advisor to President Hadi, the recently resigned president of Yemen, that the president has decided to withdraw his resignation, although there has been no official announcement to that effect. Now, as we discussed last week, much of what's happening in the Middle East right now is a proxy war between the dominant Sunni and Shia powers in the region, Saudi Arabia and Iran. And we're still waiting for the other shoe to drop regarding Israel. Last weekend, you may recall, Israel launched a missile attack into southern Lebanon, which killed several leaders of Hezbollah and an Iranian general. Hezbollah said it wants revenge, not war, but there has been no counterattack or reprisal from Hezbollah just yet. Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, causing a bit of a stir. He's going to come to the United States to address the U.S. Congress about Iran on March 3rd. The flap is because the Israeli government did not advise the White House that the Prime Minister Netanyahu, will be in the United States. This is considered a breach of protocol at best, but it, at the very least, for Netanyahu's sake, will enhance his image with the electorate in Israel just weeks before general elections there. A report from the supernatural realm, several reports, sightings of Slender Man this week, published in the Birmingham Mail newspaper in the UK. These sightings occurred in the town of Cannock, which is roughly 20 miles north of Birmingham in the West Midlands of England. Slender Man was a recent creation. Slender Man was created in 2009 on an internet forum called Something Awful. Members of this website would submit original horror stories for other members to vote on. The character of Slender Man, who, according to the stories, is thin, unnaturally tall, with a blank and usually featureless face, wears a black suit and stalks, abducts, and traumatizes people, generally children. Slender Man took on a virtual life of his own last year when two girls in Waukesha, Wisconsin, stabbed a 12-year-old classmate 19 times and told police when they were arrested that they were trying to become acolytes of Slender Man in hopes of going off to live with him at his house in the North Woods. The spiritual dimension of this. There is a Buddhist concept called the tulpa. The tulpa, it is thought, is an object or creature that can be conjured, created through spiritual or mental discipline alone. Now, it's believed that a tulpa that is allowed to survive for any length of time will eventually develop a mind and an existence of its own. Again, this is a Buddhist concept, Buddhist belief, and there are those who will actually try to create entities simply by concentrating on the characteristics of this particular entity. Such practitioners are called tulpamancers. Now, from a Christian perspective, of course, this is not how the supernatural realm works. However, the question arises with tens or hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of teens and young adults fixated on the character of Slender Man. Is it possible that demons are using the spiritual focus of so many to manifest? Is it possible that these people are opening spiritual doors, giving permission, in other words, for demonic possession or at least oppression? Speaking of spiritual doors or portals, I want to make you aware of something that we were tipped to by our friend Gans Shimura, who's the producer of the DVDs Age of Deceit, Volumes 1 and 2, a game released by Google in 2012 called Ingress. Ingress is now being played by over 7 million people around the world. It's a virtual game, a global game of capture the flag. You participate as a member of one of two teams, either the Enlightened or the Resistance. It's a game based on GPS device. You take your GPS-enabled phone or other handheld device and travel to landmarks in the area in which you live or work or travel, and try to claim these landmarks, which are designated portals. Now, again, the question arises, with all of the pagan statuary around the United States and around the world, is there any spiritual significance to this particular game? Or is Google, which is arguably the most powerful internet company in the world, just conducting a social experiment on a global scale, watching human behavior, determining our willingness to cooperate and in what forms. Is it a huge data gathering app? Remember, for more than 10 years now, Google co-founder Larry Page has been saying that the company's goal is not to build a better search engine, but to create an artificial intelligence. And what could possibly go wrong with that? Congratulations to Kathy Baker, winner of this week's SkyWatch TV Facebook page giveaway. She wins 4 great books that you see here on the screen from Defender Publishing. If you have not yet signed up, it's very easy to do. Visit our Facebook page and click the like button. That's all it takes. And then watch our Facebook page next Friday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, where we will announce another winner for 4 more books from Defender Publishing. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and also our Twitter feed. You'll find those links, the web addresses anyway, at the end of this video. We're also on Google Plus now. And our new website launches this week. Keep your eyes on SkyWatchTV.com for the launch, and we're getting close to rolling out the television program with some exciting interview guests to kick things off. 2015 promises to be an interesting year, and we will continue to serve as your eyes on the wall. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.